Let your eyelid drops easily. Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om, that's it. Ishavasya Upanishad. We were to go a little deeper into shloka 4, 5, and 6. Let us briefly review the shlokas themselves, and we look into to understand what we mean by omnipresence, what we mean by untraceable, what we mean by fully justifying the paradoxical statement like is near and it's far. It's so small and still so large, which is everywhere. It is everywhere, but still our senses cannot catch it or cannot hold it. We'll try to understand this. Intellectual understanding may bring us to, in a sense, some expansion, and strictly logically understanding, it will not make any sense whatsoever. But today I would like to take advantage of the modern science and see what we can understand with some of the examples. So first, let us review all the 3 shlokas. We have done it anyway, so let me take you through that. Okay. This is the shloka number 4, and let's see how the chanting goes. Now, having just heard what a beautiful effect it has on our chanting, and let's understand how my Guru translates into. It says that the Atma is motionless. It does not move, but it is swifter than the mind. And we'll try to study this particular statement. It is swifter than the mind. Senses cannot overtake it. It runs ahead of them. While sitting, it goes faster than those who run after it. In this, Atma, the individual soul, places the karma. So first understand Atma is motionless. When it is everywhere, how could there be a motion? In order for motion to take place, the first sentence says it is motionless. Now, in order for motion to take place, there has to be space. And what do you mean by space? Where Atma is not. And there is some empty space where the consciousness can move. Most of us, being not in the meditative state, we have objective perception. What I mean by objective perception, right now, as I'm talking to you, and you are listening, you are watching either a computer screen or a TV screen or a telephone. What does it mean that there is a space between you and the computer screen? So either you can move towards or the computer screen can come closer to you. Because our perception tells us that there is space. And that we tried to understand last time. Even though it appears to be space, but really speaking, there is no space. Now, some of you may wonder what I mean by no space. Let me give you again some of the examples. Okay. Could you see the screen? Okay. I cannot see you, so no problem. If you do not see the screen, then send me a message so my co-host will see the message. Okay, I see the message. 2 messages. All right. No, we cannot see the screen. Okay. Thank you. Okay, could you see the screen now?
No.
No, okay. Keep your mic on, please. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. So now I have to go to share screen, bringing this one. Let's see. How about now?
Yes, now we can see it.
All right. So now some of you might not have even heard about it. This one yellow ball, it looks like ball, but it is, each one is a smaller representation of an atom. So just taking a typical atom, and you see 1 inch when you put one ball, one atom to the next to each other. I'm just giving you some larger number so that we would come to know some bigger picture. 1 inch, if you put 250,000 atoms next to each other, then it can barely be an inch. 250,000 atoms. Now, so you know what an atom look like. Now, this smaller part of the atom is the next slide, which is called neutrino. And could you see the second slide?
Yes.
Okay. So in this, the bigger yellow circle, that one represents one atom. That's the diameter of one atom. And that has close to 100,000 neutrinos. So you can imagine if you put 250,000 atoms, I'm not putting you through the multiplication. I have the next slide which will give you still a better picture. So in 1 inch, 25, and these are 9 zeros. So 6 zeros is million and 9 zeros is billion. So in 1 inch, which is barely your one knuckle of your finger, in 1 inch it is 25 billion neutrinos. Would you be in a position to see 25 billion neutrino or one neutrino? Our eyesight cannot see it. So if the blank space which you think of, it has air molecules in it. And air may have oxygen, hydrogen, carbon dioxide, and helium and whatnot gases. And those gases have their molecules and have their atoms. And each atom, each 1 inch will have 25 billion neutrinos. So now you just try to think between you and your computer screen, or you and your telephone, or you and your TV. Let's take an example that you have 1 foot of distance or 10 inches of distance. When it is 10 inches of distance, 250 billion neutrinos exist. Do you see them? And when it is 250 billion neutrinos, could you ever think of any space which is vacant? Or can you say there is no space? Now this is still physical, understand. Science can trace it. So what you see to be nothing, there is nothing like nothing. Understand this point very well, then it will be a lot easier to understand the shloka number 4. It is motionless. Motionless comes into picture when there is some blank space and where something can move. But there is no something. Consciousness is everywhere. Even the word where comes into picture, we can understand it to be some space. Without the space, the word where does not fall in place. If somebody asks you, where do you live? You say Los Angeles. But Los Angeles is a place. But there is no place. Then what? Then you cannot move. When you cannot move, that means you be motionless. If this is little too difficult to understand, let me take you to another simple example of our, this one even I do not want to think of it. Okay, no, let me take this one. 1 trillionth volume of one atom equal to the volume of a nucleus. 1 trillion, so out of one atom and trillionth, that is 10 to the power minus 12. That much is the volume of the nucleus. Now understand, it will, if you contemplate enough, these are all scientific facts, by the way. These are not my made-up number or statement. So 1 trillionth volume of an atom is the volume of the nucleus. And why am I mentioning this? Because now you understand 99.95% mass of an atom equal to the mass of the nucleus. See this now? Our brain will not work. And first of all, the volume of the nucleus is just 1 trillionth part of an atom. And that is the nucleus. A nucleus carries all the weight. So trillions minus 1, that much there is a blank space. But if you look under that kind of microscope, you will find space. But what you call consciousness or Atma or Isha element is everywhere. There is no blank space. And once there is no blank space, we call it its omnipresence. We use the word omnipresence quite often, but do you really mean what you mean by omnipresence? Could you see this slide again, the greenery?
Yes, we can.
Very good. Now, you can call it, and this you may be seeing on a day-to-day basis. Look at just the ground. And it looks like tiny, tiny leaves. You may call it leaves, but each one is a plant. And this is just maybe in a 10 by 10 area, the ground covering. Can you even count how many plants are there? Forget the big plants at the back of it. I'm referring to ground only. And then you look at an ocean, and in the ocean count number of fish. And there are 7 big oceans. And fish, amount of fish is unbelievable. Then you look at the sky, or so-called space above the ground. I mean, above the ground, above the ocean, which has tiny bitty bacterial, or the mosquitoes, and there are some mosquitoes you and I could see it. But have you ever had chance to see some little dusty area looking, and through a tiny little hole, sun rays is coming in, and in the sun rays, the light that is penetrating along the ray, you see so many things floating, each one perceivable life. These are perceivable, understand. How many still must be which are not even perceivable? So to say, Atma is motionless, because there is nothing which does not have nothing. There is nothing with nothing. Some crazy statement. And once when there is nothing with nothing, that means there is something, but we cannot call it thing because you cannot comprehend it. Let me come out of this slide. So, just the first word, which says Atma is motionless. And this is not perceivable, traceable with the modern equipment. So then how do the great rishis or the yogis knew? Only during the deeper state of meditation. And what do you mean by, now pay attention, what do you mean by deeper state of meditation? Because in a deeper state of meditation, meditator is no more. And when the meditator is no more, and still the meditator is not dead, he is alive. And what do you mean by alive? His body is supported. His body has been empowered. His body has been emanating with intelligence. So this intelligence, what we refer as Atma or consciousness, and mind you, don't get into the current detail of Jiva and Atma and Paramatma and all. Just understand the word, encompassing word Atma or consciousness. Here it is referred as Atma. So to say, there is no place which is without Atma. You may not be there, but a dog and cat may be there. Dog and cat may not be there, but an insect can be there. Insect may not be there, but the microbes can be there. Microbes may not be there, then some neutrinos will be there. I'm not even referring to molecules and atoms. So to say, there is no place which is so-called empty. And first of all, now if I make the statement, this phenomena of motionless is beyond the space and beyond the time. When you have these two elements of space and time, then there is motion. But when you don't have these two elements, then there is no motion. So just the first one word or two words which describes motionlessness, there is no motion. Now you understand with this little example. Now let us see as to what does the further translation and other detail. But it is swifter than the mind. Now, first of all, understand where can mind reach and what is mind. Mind empowers our sense organs. And what do you mean by our sense organ? With the eyes you could see, with the ears you could hear, with the tongue you can taste, with the skin you could feel, and with the nose you could smell. Understandable. But despite having these four sense organs, or five sense organs, if there is no power, if there is no consciousness, first of all, let's not even go to the consciousness. If there is no mind, then you could not perceive. And once there is no mind, you could not perceive. But once there is no consciousness, no Atma, no mind can perform. So to say, here, it is swifter than the mind. Before even your mind can travel in a little second, you're sitting here and you can think of a place in India, say, and it's roughly 10,000 miles. It can go there. But here, there is no place which is without Atma, which is without consciousness. So the mind has limitations. Mind cannot travel faster than the speed of the light. And the speed of the light is 1.86 million miles per second, even though it's a high speed. But with the speed, where you gonna go? Somewhere. But so far as Atma, consciousness, spirit is concerned, there is no place where it is not. So how far the mind can travel? How fast can it travel? That's why this second part which says, but it is swifter, faster than the mind. Senses can never overtake it. And I just now indirectly mentioned, senses can never overtake it, because senses has limitation. Senses cannot travel faster than mind, and mind cannot travel faster than Atma, because Atma is everywhere. And in order for even to mind to travel, there has to be a space. So understand, that's why senses can never overtake it. It runs ahead of them. By the time you reach there, he is already there. What do you mean by he who? Atma. And you cannot even call it he. So, it runs ahead of them. It appears like running, but it's not running. While sitting, it goes faster than those who run after it. Now, who runs after it, meaning Atma? Those scientists with ultra-sophisticated equipment, they want to trace it and they want to go and see what it is, or can I catch hold of it? As soon as you catch hold of it, that means you have to run faster than it. But it is sitting, it's not moving. The very first line, it says, Atma is motionless. It's sitting. And when the mind wants to catch it, our senses want to catch it. It's already there ahead of it. So it goes faster than those who run after it. Who runs after it? Mind. In this, Atma, the individual soul places the karma. Individual soul, wherever consciousness manifests, like you and I, we have consciousness. And the consciousness is everywhere. But how could we see it? How could we feel it? Only when it is manifested. Only when the existence takes place. Otherwise, we do not see it. But on a logical argument basis, here today we learned that it is everywhere. And like considering a huge ocean. But ocean also has a limitation. But for our understanding, for our calculation purpose, consider that you are just a drop in that ocean. That tiny drop. And there are so many other drops also. But the drop, is it different from the ocean? It is just a part of it. A drop is a part of the ocean. But you can identify a drop, but you cannot identify, so to say, a part of consciousness or individual jiva, because consciousness is indivisible. Nainam chindanti sastrani, nainam dehati pavaka. No instrument can chindanti, meaning cut the consciousness, and nainam dahati pavaka. Pavaka, the fire. Fire cannot burn it. So its characteristic is such that you cannot comprehend it. You cannot burn it, you cannot cut it, you cannot wet it, you cannot dry it. This we are just to have some glimpse and understanding of shloka number 4. But then understand, we have to take help of little bit objective to comprehend something. And every time I'll be telling you, it cannot be compared. No metaphoric example can be given. Because there is nothing in this entire universe which is omnipresent, except Isha, except Atma, except consciousness. And hence, but still, in order for us to understand, we'll be taking example of ocean and a drop. If you happen to put some sugar, it can reach to certain molecules of water. When it reaches to certain molecules of water, the entire ocean does not become sweet, but certain molecules become sweet. Likewise, consciousness, when it is manifested in you, me, bugs, plant, ocean, mountain, insect, each one of them, like we putting in little sugar, each one does the karma. What do you mean by karma? Does the action, but this action has intention. And once it has the intention, the impact of that intention is registered. And the impact of that intention is registered, and that is karma. So whatever that intention has been registered, karma, that karma at some point in time has to produce an effect that will remain as a cause. And if you have forgotten, I give you a very simple example. And quite often we have been studying karmas, that if you put your hand into the fire, you will get burnt. So putting the hands into the fire is the action. And the result or the karmas is what? The heat has produced the effect of burning, and that burnt is it becomes cause, and which will change the color of the skin and pain and whatnot. So cause and effect. So here, individual Atma, again understand, Atma word is nothing like yours and mine, but it does not do anything itself. That remains pure in itself. But the impression that goes with the subtle body, the subtleness of the body, some prana, udana, if you recall from our Panch Prana discussion, that udana is the subtle body that carries the impression, that carries the seeds of the karma, and whenever the consciousness takes the second form of manifestation, the karma or the subtle body goes with it. And if you understand this, I am not getting into when does the subtle body enters an embryo in the human body, but whatever number of days that the embryo is there, embryo has its own individual motion, but then the subtle body identifies it depending upon finding the proper matching of the embryological body. Anyhow, so going back to that carries the karmas. And karma, again, as I told you, the action done with intention. And the intention can be good or bad, does not matter. But it is us who are carrying the concept of papa and punya, austerity and sin. But truly speaking, sin and austerity are not different. They are different and they are not, but they both are intention. Somebody may call it a sin and somebody may call it austerity. But whatever it is, if you have put your hands into the fire, it will be burnt. And if you would have put your hands into ice, you will feel cold. Or if you would have put hands into the water, you will get wet. Now, getting wet, you can call it bad, and putting hands into the fire to be good. In either case, putting hands into the fire and the hands get burned, then you will call that to be good, because the first part, the cause was treated as a punya, or the austerity. So the punya and the papa, when Shankaracharya says na punyam na papam na sukham na dukkham, that doesn't mean that there is no punya and there is no papa. But depends what do you call punya and what do you call papa. But bottom line is, no matter what you do, you will, and I mean you will, experience the appropriate effect. When the hands is burnt, and you can call it a good omen, you have prerogatives to do so. And somebody call it bad, somebody may call it good. But it is somebody, and it is some matching situation. If you do not understand it, let me take an example. In Africa, there are certain tribes, they prefer to have a very long neck. ladies particularly. So what they do, they take the metal ring of certain thicknesses and they keep under pressure putting one after another metal ring around the neck. So what happens between the collarbone and the jawbone, the metal ring is always pressing upward so that it will look elongated neck. If you happen to go there, a person like us happen to go there, will think that, oh my God, that neck is so big and it looks ugly. But if you go there and those people who watch you, they will think that, look, this ugly man, he has no neck at all. How ugly he looks. So they call you ugly and you call them ugly. But is there anything ugly or is there anything beautiful? Those are relatives. So with this, dear friend, when you study and ever a thought comes that you are suffering from the bad karma or the effect of the bad karma, there is no suffering. And the suffering is there provided you think it to be suffering. And almost all miseries are mental gyrations. Anything happening, even the death, and if you consider death to be, now is the time I wore this dress for so long, and now is the time for me to buy another dress. And that another dress is because of the death, new birth, transmigration of Udana Vayu, carrying your intention of your actions from the previous life. This shloka is so powerful, and I have taken part by part to understand how beautiful it is. We have taken help of the science to understand the concept of space, concept of speed, concept of comprehension. What I mean by comprehension, understanding something. And if you recall our good old statement when we were studying during the class of pranayama, name, form, and characteristic. So far as there is name, it will have a form. And so far as there is form, there is limitation, there are sizes. Even the sun may be millions of miles in diameter, but still it is millions of miles. It has shape, it has a form, and it has characteristic. So sun is not Atma. It is still a tangible object. Anything tangibility is not consciousness. Understand now very well. Tangibility means tangible meaning comprehensible. And what do you mean by comprehensible? With the eyes you could see, with the ears you could hear, and all the five sense organs perceive something, some different qualities. So if you understand the qualities again, First of all, you have named it as Surya. You have named it as Moon or Mars. As soon as you name something, it has to have a shape, whether round, square, abnormal, or whatever. And as soon as it is shaped, howsoever big or small, either with telescope or microscope or internal scope, you could see the color and the form. So the Sanskrit word rupa indicates form and color. And as soon as the form and the colors are there, people identify them. And they can call it anything, Mars, Moon, Sun. And even if mountain, park, we have given the name so that we can identify them, we can locate them. And each one has its characteristic. But, big but, how would you comprehend Atma? Because it is motionless. And motionless is the second expression of omnipresence. Present everywhere, which is beyond space and beyond time. So once when it is beyond space and beyond time, it is infinite. Infinite is not zero, and still it is zero, because zero, you cannot define it. And we say after one will come zero. But zero, the concept. Mathematician may take it zero in a different concept than Indian scientists will take. And what I meant by Indian scientists, Indian spiritual masters. They call it a sunyam. And in the sunyam, there is everything. You can call it a miniature form, nanoetics form, and still nano, you keep on going. And still, fractal shape will appear, the same pattern, which we saw the other day. So to say, if you take the larger magnitude, you still cannot comprehend. And if you go to the micro, nano, whatever you call it, that dimension you still cannot comprehend. Because why? It is everywhere. And once when it is not comprehensible, it cannot be an object. An object has shape and color. Non-object has nothing, consciousness. And once when there is nama and rupa, it has characteristic. But once when there is no shape and no name and no form, no characteristic. So Atma does not have any shape and does not take part in anything. It is the subconsciousness, it is the Udan Vayu that takes the active role in the manifestation of the entire world. But Atma itself does not do anything. So never say that God punishes you. God is our concept, understand this. And if we put all, so-called all, so-called all Atmas, and there's no more than one Atma, mind you. And you cannot even count to one. Atma is just Atma. All pervading, ever pervading. So since it does not do any activity, real spiritual seeker will never blame God, will never pray to God that give me this and give me that. Understanding this Vedantic philosophy it may appear to be contradicting with our organized religions bombarding in our mind that your consciousness, your Atma and my Atma, and whenever Swamiji dies, you may say his Atma is suffering because he was such a bad guy. Atma, or the God, does not punish. It has created certain rules, and that rule, every manifestation has to observe. And that manifestation, even some accentuated power, and I call accentuated power, born in the form of human or animal, then those during their birth time will have to follow the rules of laws of karma. And so if you call them God, your prerogatives, but God is that element, if you call it an element, which empowers everything and still does not take part into anything. So that empowered body will have to undergo the laws of karma. So hereafter, may we learn and understand that there is nothing like your soul and my soul. And laws of the karma, whether you believe it or not, it's a different story. I'm not even asking you to believe reincarnation. Does not matter, whichever way you want to believe. But the shloka number 4 and the first word, which is omnipresence, it's everywhere. We use it everywhere so frequently, but we do not know what we mean by omnipresence. With this little example of today, I try to explain each one of those words. Shloka number 4. Next Thursday, we will try to attempt shloka number 5 and shloka number 6. And who knows how we proceed further. So, dear friend, observe few seconds of silence, and we'll end with the Shanti part. Let your eyelid drops easily. Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti. 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 Hari Om Tat Sat.